I can feel the weight of the envelope in my hand before I even open it. The afternoon sunlight streams through the kitchen window, turning the wooden floor a warm amber, and the smell of freshly baked cookies from the counter makes my stomach twist with both hope and dread. Today should feel like a celebration, a milestone I've waited my entire life for. Instead, it feels like standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure if the ground beneath me is solid. My parents had called a family meeting to read the terms of the $5 million trust. Everything they had worked for, they said, they were giving to the golden child. My younger sister, Madison, the one who seemed to float through life untouched by struggle, sat across from me, twirling a strand of her blonde hair, completely unaware of the storm about to hit. Her eyes sparkled like sunlight on water, completely oblivious to the tension that had been simmering in this house for years. I had spent the morning carefully arranging the small decorations for the occasion. A bouquet of tulips on the counter, a bowl of fresh strawberries, a stack of neatly wrapped gifts, all symbols of my effort, my devotion, my attempt to make the day perfect. I smiled at my own reflection in the stainless steel fridge, forcing myself to breathe, to hope, to believe this could be different. Maybe, just maybe, this day could end in recognition, not disappointment. The front doorbell rings. I glance toward the hallway, my heart jumping. My neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, waves as she drops off a plate of her famous banana bread, her kind smile a small comfort in this tense moment. "For luck," she whispers. I nod, clutching the bread like a talisman, my hands shaking slightly. My parents enter the living room, their expressions measured, almost unreadable. Dad holds the envelope in both hands, as if it's too fragile to touch. Mom's eyes flicker between Madison and me, a glance full of pride for one child and uncertainty for the other. I sit on the edge of the sofa, my fingers fidgeting with the hem of my sweater. Every step, every breath, every flicker of light from the chandelier above feels amplified. The lawyer begins reading aloud. Numbers, percentages, properties. I can feel the words bouncing off the walls, but only a few penetrate. And then the clause that makes my chest tighten. Everything goes to Madison, except for a single condition, one last stipulation that could change everything. My pulse quickens, my fingers grip the edge of the envelope until they blanch white. I want to hope, but the fear has already settled like a stone in my stomach. Madison beams, oblivious to the complexity, thinking only of herself. She laughs at a private joke with Dad, brushing a lock of hair from her face, completely unaware of the tension rippling through the room. I watch her and feel that familiar sting of being invisible in my own family, the subtle way my accomplishments are always overshadowed, my efforts always quietly acknowledged, never celebrated. I glance down at the small card in my hand, the final clause shimmering in bold print. The recipient must prove independence from undue influence before claiming any inheritance. My heart twists. Independence. Influence. Words that sound simple but feel impossible, as though they were written specifically to keep me at arm's length, always struggling, always second best. The room grows silent. The weight of expectation, favoritism, and unspoken rules hangs over us like a cloud. Madison's laughter fades as she notices my tense expression, but she doesn't understand. No one does. And in that moment, I realize the day I had imagined, the day of recognition, of belonging, is slipping through my fingers like sand. I tuck the envelope close to my chest. A small voice behind me, my nephew, little Jamie, asks, "Are we all going to celebrate together?" His innocent question pierces through the haze of tension, reminding me of why I've tried so hard, why I've given everything without complaint. I force a smile for him, but it doesn't reach my eyes. And in that quiet, golden afternoon light, I feel the first flicker of hope dim, the warmth of my expectations cracking under the pressure of reality. The air feels heavier now, almost oppressive, as the lawyer folds the trust documents and tucks them into his briefcase. Madison leans back, satisfied, her smile radiant and unbothered. I force myself to clap along, though it feels hollow, like applause in a dream where nothing is real. My hands tremble slightly, hidden beneath the table. Rachel, don't be upset. It's for the best, Mom says softly, though her eyes flicker with a mixture of regret and irritation. She doesn't understand. She never really has. I nod, lips pressed tight, hiding the sting behind a polite smile. A half-eaten slice of the chocolate cake I baked sits on a plate, frosting smeared across its edges, forgotten in the chaos. I glance at it, my stomach sinking. It was supposed to be a small celebration, something warm to mark the day. Instead, it's a reminder, symbolic, almost cruel, that my effort is overlooked, my love unrecognized. Madison nudges a gift toward me, a token I know she intends as a peace offering. Here, for trying so hard, she says with a teasing grin. My chest tightens. I force a smile, accept the present, but I don't open it. I can't. It feels like a hollow gesture, like the laughter that once filled this house but now rings with tension. Are you sure you're okay? Asks Mrs. Patterson, who has stayed quietly in the corner. She always knows. I force another smile, trying to appear composed, but my throat burns and a lump forms in my chest. I want to tell her everything, the years of favoritism, the countless unnoticed sacrifices, but the words stick. They never come out without tears. My phone buzzes in my pocket. A text from Dad. You're overreacting. It's just family stuff. My fingers tighten around the device. Overreacting. The word echoes, a cruel dismissal of all the effort, love, and loyalty I've poured into a family that barely notices. I stare at the screen, unsure if I should respond, my thumb hovering over the keyboard. I don't.
Not yet.
Jamie tugs gently at my sleeve. Aunt Rachel, are we still going to have ice cream? His small eyes look at me with genuine hope. I swallow hard, forcing a laugh, nodding, though every word feels like an act. I want to shield him from the bitter disappointment clawing at my heart, but even a child can sense when a room is filled with quiet betrayal. I slip out onto the driveway, needing air, needing space. The sun is lower now, golden and indifferent, brushing against the edges of the house. A neighbor walks by and offers a small nod, a wordless acknowledgement of the tension radiating from the home. The door closes behind me with a quiet click, separating me from the celebration inside. Madison leans against the doorway, smirking faintly, not realizing how sharply her presence cuts. Don't take it personally, Rachel, she calls, almost mocking. I don't respond. I simply breathe, the cold evening air filling my lungs, trying to steady the tremor in my hands. I glance at the mailbox, half expecting another reminder of the golden child's advantage, letters, gifts, privileges that somehow always skip over me. And I feel it again, that familiar sting of invisibility, the creeping pain of being perpetually overlooked. The $5 million trust isn't just money, it's a declaration of who matters and who doesn't. And right now, I feel like I don't. Jamie's tiny voice floats from the open door, asking again, Aunt Rachel? My heart constricts. I force a gentle smile, nodding. Yes, Jamie. Ice cream first, then we can talk about stories. I want to protect him from the weight of disappointment, though it presses down on me relentlessly. And as the driveway grows longer in the dimming light, I realize the full impact. This isn't a one-time sting. It's a pattern, a life lived in the shadow of a favored sibling. The warmth I felt earlier has gone cold. The first disappointment has landed, and it is heavy, inescapable, and real. The evening stretches on, and I find myself alone in the quiet of my childhood bedroom. The walls, once comforting with their soft cream paint and framed photographs, now feel like witnesses to a lifetime of quiet favoritism. I sink onto the bed, pulling the blanket around my shoulders, and memories flood in like a tide I never expected to return. I remember Christmas mornings, the sharp contrast between the presents for Madison and those for me. She would receive toys she asked for, the latest electronics, beautiful dresses, while my gifts, though thoughtful, were often generic, secondhand, or quietly tucked away. You're the responsible one, my mother would say, brushing my disappointment aside. "So your rewards come later." But later never came. The message was clear. My worth was measured by my service, by my patience, by my ability to keep everything running smoothly without complaint. Even as a teenager, the pattern continued. I paid off some of my own college expenses with a part-time job, while Madison's tuition was always covered without a word. Family dinners were subtly orchestrated to highlight her achievements, accolades, awards, new friends. My successes were quietly acknowledged, but never celebrated. "That's great, Rachel," my father would say, a polite nod of approval, never a cheer, never a sparkle in his eyes. Bills went unpaid, promises went broken, and favors were always expected from me. The family car needed repairs? I handled it. The utility bill overdue? I managed it. Every small crisis seemed to land squarely on my shoulders, while Madison floated through life unburdened. And yet, each time I questioned it, my parents would reassure me with the same familiar line: "You're mature enough to handle this. She can't yet." Their words felt like both praise and punishment, a reminder that I was perpetually bound to responsibility while the golden child wandered free. I flash forward to high school graduation, the first real moment when I had hoped for acknowledgement. My valedictorian speech, hours of preparation and late nights, was interrupted by my parents' focus on Madison's cheerleading awards. The applause for my speech was polite, but hollow, barely rising above the background chatter. Madison beamed afterward, her smile taking the room. I clapped, of course, for her, but the applause felt stolen from me, like light snatched from the sky. Social media amplified the imbalance. Pictures posted of Madison's birthday parties, her vacations, and her awards reminded me constantly of the difference in treatment. Friends and acquaintances would comment on her life, her privilege, while mine remained quiet, unremarkable in their eyes. The digital world reflected reality. I existed, but only in the margins. Even small betrayals stung sharply, each one accumulating into a weight I carried silently. A Christmas card sent to Madison with a $500 gift card, while I received a note and a modest gift. A family dinner where my achievements were summarized in a single sentence before the conversation shifted entirely to Madison's latest triumphs. A photo posted online of the golden child receiving recognition that I had worked tirelessly to achieve in parallel, the caption oblivious to my efforts. "Proud of my shining star." It wasn't just financial. Emotional manipulation was the undercurrent of every interaction. "You're strong. You can handle it. She's too young to understand." Over and over, I internalized that my feelings were secondary, my needs invisible, my labor taken for granted. I began to measure my worth through their approval, a metric that was impossible to reach. And now, staring at the envelope from today, the final clause shimmering with legal authority, the clarity hits me. This isn't new. The trust, the money, the favoritism, it's the latest chapter in a lifetime of subtle, calculated hierarchy. Madison's entitlement has been nurtured since birth, while my dedication has been both praised and ignored, rewarded only with expectation and responsibility. I close my eyes, trying to remember the little victories. The evenings Jamie laughs at my silly stories, the quiet moments with neighbors who notice my efforts, the brief warmth of genuine kindness from friends. Those moments feel fragile, yet precious, reminding me that the world beyond this house has a different measure of worth, one that I can grasp for myself. I open my eyes and stare at the darkening room, at the framed photographs of family celebrations where I am always in the background. The anger simmers, but it's no longer aimless. Today, the pattern has been made clear, and for the first time, I understand fully why the sting cuts so deep. Today, the betrayal is not an isolated incident. It is the culmination of a lifetime of overlooked love, misdirected praise, and carefully cultivated favoritism. Outside, the wind brushes against the windows, soft and insistent. It feels almost like a whisper. Change is possible, but only if I act. It's been 3 days since the trust reading, and I still wake up in a haze of frustration. The house feels smaller somehow, the walls pressing in with the memory of Madison's laughter, the echo of my parents' subtle dismissals. I've tried to push it aside, to focus on Jamie and the few moments of normalcy, but the envelope sits on the kitchen counter like a silent, accusing witness. Then my phone buzzes. A message from Dad. I hesitate before opening it, already dreading what I'll read. Rachel, there's a new clause. The trust must be activated under strict conditions. You will need to live independently for 6 months, cover all your expenses, and avoid undue influence from any family member. Failure to comply will forfeit your portion entirely. My hands tighten around the device. My chest constricts, and for a moment I feel like I can't breathe. 6 months. Independence. Avoiding influence. Words that feel deliberately cruel, almost mocking. They're asking me to prove something I've lived my whole life doing, and yet they frame it as if I'm incapable, as if every act of care, every sacrifice I've made, has been invalidated. I pace the kitchen, the floorboards creaking beneath my feet. Jamie toddles behind me, tugging at my sleeve. Are we okay, Aunt Rachel? His small voice pierces the fog of frustration, grounding me. I bend down, forcing a calm smile. We're okay, Jamie. Just figuring things out. The lie tastes bitter in my mouth. I pull out my laptop, opening spreadsheets to calculate the realistic costs of 6 months living entirely independently. Rent, groceries, transportation, medical bills. Each number punches me harder than the last. The reality is stark. I'll need to stretch every penny, make impossible choices, and somehow survive without relying on the very family that has always dictated the rules. My mind flashes to the countless moments of exploitation, the unpaid bills I covered, the late nights helping Madison with homework while my own responsibilities stacked up. All those sacrifices, all those acts of quiet obedience, they've never earned me recognition, yet now they demand proof of my independence. I feel my hands shake, the tremor running down my arms, the tightness in my chest making each breath a labor. I look at Jamie again, playing with a toy car on the counter. His innocent laughter is a reminder of why I cannot fail, why I must muster every ounce of resolve. If I crumble now, if I give in to the weight of their expectation, I'm not just failing myself, I'm failing him. And that's when it hits me. They will never change. This final clause is not an opportunity. It's a test designed to break me, to remind me of my place in the family hierarchy. The realization sparks something deep and steady, a quiet fire of rebellion that has been building for years. I will not allow them to define my worth, to dictate my life, or to determine my future. I take a deep breath, feeling the tension slowly coiling into resolve. The fear and disbelief remain, but they are no longer paralyzing. For the first time in a long while, I can see a path forward, uncertain, challenging, yes, but entirely my own. The rules of the game have been set, and now it is my turn to play on my terms. I glance at the envelope one last time. Its presence feels different now, not a symbol of oppression, but a challenge, a call to action. And as I tuck it into my bag and look out the window at the fading sunlight, I know that the moment of passive acceptance is over. Something inside me has shifted, a spark of determination that cannot be extinguished. Tonight, I will begin to reclaim my life, step by step, dollar by dollar, decision by decision.
For me.
For Jamie. For the first time, I am choosing me. The next morning, I wake up before anyone else, the house still silent except for the soft hum of the refrigerator. The envelope from the trust rests on the counter, and I study it for the 100th time. Today, I decide, is the day I stop waiting for their approval, the day I draw my line. I begin small. I log into my online banking and see the recurring transfers automatically sent to my parents' accounts. For years, I've sent them money, out of duty, out of habit, out of fear of confrontation. But today, I transferred just $1 instead of the usual $1,850. It's symbolic, tiny, yet profound. A quiet act of defiance. My fingers hover over the keys for a moment longer than necessary, the significance sinking in. I am reclaiming control, however small. Next, I tackle the issue of my phone. For months, Every family call, every message, carried implicit demands, subtle guilt, expectations veiled as concern. I set boundaries, moving their numbers to priority-only notifications. When the phone buzzes with another passive-aggressive text from Dad, I read it and then swipe it away. No response. For the first time, silence feels empowering rather than frightening. Jamie toddles into the kitchen, clutching a small wooden train, and I scoop him up. We share breakfast together, scrambled eggs, toast, and fresh strawberries. His laughter fills the space, a light piercing through the remnants of tension. I watch him and feel a swell of something I've long denied myself, joy untainted by obligation. Every smile, every giggle, every sticky-fingered attempt to help with breakfast reminds me that my world doesn't have to be defined by the golden child or my parents' expectations. Later, I lock the door to the study, where papers, bills, and legal notices clutter every surface. For the first time in years, I feel a literal and figurative sense of privacy. The lock clicks shut, a tiny echo that sounds like freedom. I organize the papers that belong to me, separate from what they would control or criticize. I tally my own savings, my own responsibilities, and for the first time, I see that I have more than enough to survive and thrive on my own. In the afternoon, I venture out to run errands alone, each step outside a small rebellion. The sunlight feels sharper, warmer, somehow lighter. I pass the coffee shop where I once met Madison for a casual brunch, the memory of her complaints and casual superiority fading. I buy a small journal, the cover a soft teal, and begin jotting down plans, hopes, and daily victories. It is not a declaration to the world, but a promise to myself. I am worthy. I am capable. I am independent. That evening, I prepare a simple dinner for Jamie and me. Pasta, garlic bread, and strawberries for dessert. We eat at the kitchen table, laughing at the stories he tells about his day at preschool. There's no expectation, no judgment, just warmth and connection. For the first time, the house feels like a home, even if only temporarily, because this home is ours in that moment. Finally, I sit on the sofa, Jamie nestled against me, and I let myself breathe fully. My chest no longer feels constricted by their rules or their favoritism. I feel calm, steady, and empowered. I am no longer a passive participant in a life dictated by others. I am actively shaping it, asserting control in small, deliberate acts. The envelope, the trust, the golden child, they no longer have the same power over me. I glance out the window as the sky shifts to dusk, painting the neighborhood in pink and amber hues. The locks, the dollar transfer, the unresponded messages, they are more than acts. They are symbols of a reclamation long overdue. And as Jamie curls into my side, murmuring sleepy goodnights, I realize that control, once taken quietly and deliberately, feels like freedom. Tonight, the house is quiet, but it is alive with a different kind of energy, the energy of someone finally asserting her worth, someone finally saying, without shouting, that her life, her choices, and her happiness belong to her. And in that quiet, deliberate victory, I understand something essential. Rebellion does not always roar. Sometimes it whispers. And sometimes it locks a door, transfers a single dollar, and shares strawberries with a child who matters. I didn't expect them to take it quietly. By late afternoon, a loud pounding rattles the front door. My heart skips a beat, and I glance down at Jamie, who's sitting on the rug with a puzzle, his tiny hands frozen mid-piece. "Aunt Rachel?" His voice is small, uncertain. I move to the door, trying to steady my breathing, but the pounding continues, faster, angrier. "Rachel, open this door right now." Dad's voice booms, carrying through the house like a storm. Behind it, I hear Madison shouting, "You can't do this. It's our family." The golden child, of course, entirely oblivious to the subtle cruelty that has shaped my life. I stand firm. I take a slow breath, feeling Jamie tug at my sleeve. "Stay here, sweetie," I whisper, gently pulling him behind me. My hands shake slightly, but I force them to remain steady. The doorbell rings again, the sound urgent and insistent. They're escalating, testing the limits I've set. I take a step back, my eyes scanning the room for support. The neighbor across the street, Mr. Franklin, stands at his window, watching the commotion. His expression is concerned but calm, a reminder that I am not entirely alone. I reach for my phone, dialing 911, not because I want confrontation, but because I need someone objective, someone to witness the truth if it escalates further. The moment stretches. Then the police arrive, lights flashing outside, sirens soft in the distance. Dad's shouting stops abruptly, replaced by stammered explanations. Madison clings to his arm, still indignant, still believing she has the moral high ground. I step forward calmly, speaking clearly, directly. I am living independently. I am following the requirements of the trust. I am acting within my rights. The officer nods, taking statements from both sides. I notice Jamie peeking from behind me, his eyes wide, absorbing the tension. Am I not important enough? He whispers, almost to himself. My chest tightens. I crouch, meeting his gaze. You are more than important, Jamie. You're everything. The words feel like a lifeline, both for him and for me. Dad glares, frustrated that his authority is being challenged. Madison huffs, arms crossed, clearly expecting some capitulation. But I remain steady, my voice calm, resolute. I've set boundaries. I'm living by them. This ends now. No pleading, no shouting, no justification. Just the quiet assertion of control. The officer reviews the documents I've prepared, proof of my independent living, financial statements, legal advice. Every requirement laid out clearly. The tension in the room is thick, almost unbearable, but my calm acts as a counterweight. Dad mutters under his breath. Madison glares. But neither can argue with facts presented so clearly and unemotionally. Finally, the police officer steps aside, leaving the family standing in the doorway, frustrated and defeated. They exchange a look, a silent acknowledgement that my resolve cannot be broken. Madison stomps off toward the car, her protests falling flat, her entitlement momentarily challenged. Dad remains, muttering, but there's no leverage left. I close the door slowly, the lock clicking into place. Jamie tugs at my hand. It's okay now, Aunt Rachel? His voice is hopeful, trusting. I kneel, wrapping him in my arms. Yes, Jamie. It's okay. We're safe. We're okay. In the quiet aftermath, I stand for a long moment, breathing deeply, feeling the weight lift slightly from my shoulders. The house, once a battleground of expectations and favoritism, now feels like a space where boundaries are respected, where my voice is finally heard. The storm has passed, and I have remained unmoved, dignified, and morally victorious. Tonight, I will let Jamie sleep in peace, knowing that no amount of shouting, no manipulation, no storm of anger can strip me of the control I've claimed. The golden child may have inherited privilege, but I have reclaimed my life. And that is worth more than any amount of money or approval ever could be. The morning after the confrontation, the house feels different. Sunlight filters through the windows, illuminating dust motes dancing in the golden light. The tension that hung so thickly yesterday has lifted, replaced by a calm I almost don't recognize. Jamie giggles as he chases a paper airplane across the kitchen floor, and I can't help but smile. It's the first time in years that laughter has felt safe here. There's a knock at the door, gentle this time. I open it to find Mrs. Patterson, holding a basket of fresh fruit and a note tucked neatly on top. Thought you could use a little support, she says softly. I feel a warmth spread through me, the simple act of kindness more powerful than any money, any document, any approval I had ever sought from my family. Soon after, Mr. Franklin, the neighbor, drops by with a gift card for groceries. For you and Jamie, he says, shrugging modestly. Consider it a peace offering. I laugh softly, shaking my head in disbelief at the generosity surrounding me. People who have no obligation are showing the kind of care I've longed for from my own family. I realize, as I arrange the fruit in a bowl and set Jamie's toys aside, that this is the difference between obligation and true generosity. My parents' love was conditional, transactional, and tied to favoritism. The kindness from my neighbors and friends is unprompted, genuine, and sustaining. I feel the lesson settle in quietly. The people who truly matter show up because they want to, not because they must. Throughout the day, small gestures continue to arrive. A coworker leaves a note on my desk with an encouraging message. A neighbor bakes banana bread and slides it through my mailbox. Jamie chimes in excitedly. "Look, Aunt Rachel. Someone left us gifts." And in that moment, I understand what real support feels like. Unexpected, authentic, and unwavering. I take a moment to sit at the kitchen table, sipping tea, breathing in the calm. I pull out my financial tracking sheets, reviewing them carefully. For the first time, I can see the surplus, the independent choices that keep us safe. It feels empowering rather than overwhelming, a practical reminder that I can provide for myself and for Jamie without relying on conditional family approval. Even the small things feel significant. I notice that the laundry is lighter, the kitchen cleaner, the air easier to breathe. It's as if by setting boundaries and reclaiming control, I've opened space for life itself to flow more freely. I glance at Jamie, who is happily coloring at the table, and feel a deep sense of gratitude. The house, for the first time in years, feels expansive, alive, and full of possibility. By evening, I step outside and watch the neighborhood settle into the quiet rhythm of dusk. The sky glows with amber and violet streaks, and I feel a lightness in my chest I haven't known in a long time. It's not happiness tied to material inheritance or parental approval. It's something steadier, quieter, peace. The foundation of a new life. I tuck Jamie into bed, reading his favorite story, and whisper a promise I intend to keep. No one will make you feel small, Jamie. We are enough, just as we are. And in that simple declaration, I feel my own truth reinforced. The external chaos may come, the golden child may flaunt privilege, but I am supported, grounded, and free to live within my own boundaries. As I sit back on the couch, tea in hand, I let the stillness wash over me. The world outside is busy, messy, loud, but within these walls, surrounded by genuine support, I feel something I've long sought. The quiet certainty that we are not alone, that love can exist without conditions, and that healing is possible, one act of kindness at a time. For the first time, the house feels bigger. Weeks pass, and life begins to settle into a rhythm that feels almost surreal in its normalcy. The mornings are quiet but purposeful. I make breakfast for Jamie, watching him scramble eggs with careful concentration. The sound of sizzling pans and his laughter blends into a soundtrack that is entirely ours, untouched by the shadows of past expectations. I've painted the living room a soft sage green, the walls now reflecting a sense of calm and renewal. Each stroke of the brush felt like reclaiming a piece of myself, time, space, and energy no longer dictated by a family who never truly valued me. The simple act of creating, of tending to our home, reminds me daily that independence is not just survival, it's thriving. Financially, I'm steadier than ever. I track expenses with precision, noticing that careful planning has created room for small luxuries, a new book, a weekend outing with Jamie, fresh flowers on the table. Each choice is deliberate, a tangible sign that I am capable, responsible, and deserving of comfort without guilt or interference. Jamie blossoms in this environment. His confidence grows. He reads aloud to me, plays with other children at the park without hesitation, and speaks proudly of his little victories. Watching him thrive reinforces my own growth. I am no longer the invisible adult in the household, fading into the background while Madison's light dominates. I am the center of our world, and I am learning to enjoy it fully. Occasionally, my parents or Madison reach out, attempting casual conversation or hints at reconciliation. I respond kindly but firmly, careful to maintain the boundaries that protect both me and Jamie. "Thank you for checking in," I say one evening over the phone. "We're doing well." No explanations, no apologies demanded. Just calm acknowledgement. They may never fully understand, but that's no longer my responsibility. New connections begin to form in my life, unexpected and nurturing. My coworker, Lena, invites me to a weekend art class, and we discover a shared passion for painting. A neighbor, Tom, strikes up conversation during our walks, offering gentle humor and encouragement. These relationships, small but meaningful, reinforce a life built on mutual respect rather than obligation. I notice symbols of growth everywhere. The tulips I planted in the front yard bloom in vivid colors, reminders of patience, care, and persistence. The fresh paint on the walls glows in the afternoon sun, a canvas of our reclaimed space. On the counter, Jamie's drawings are displayed alongside mine, proof that our life is not just surviving, it's creating, building, and flourishing. One evening, I sit on the porch with a cup of tea, Jamie asleep inside, and reflect on the journey from silence and compliance to assertive independence. I understand now that freedom is not just leaving the house or following the trust stipulations. Freedom is internal, steady, and resilient. It is the ability to live without fear of judgment or favoritism, to nurture yourself and those you love, and to embrace joy without guilt. As the sun sets, painting the sky in amber and rose, I smile to myself. The house, once a place of tension and disappointment, has become a sanctuary. Every lock, every decision, every painted wall and planted flower is a testament to a life rebuilt, a life now guided by choice rather than expectation. For the first time, I feel entirely at home in my own skin and in our home. A year has passed since the trust reading, and the house feels alive with a quiet, steady energy. The walls, painted sage green, reflect the golden morning light, and the tulips in the front yard have multiplied, bright and resilient, a living reminder of patience and renewal. Jamie runs through the hallway, backpack bouncing, ready for his first day of school. His excitement is infectious, and I can't help but grin. The envelope that once carried weight now rests tucked away in a drawer. Its power diminished, its demands fulfilled. The $5 million trust no longer defines me. What mattered then, the stipulations, the favoritism, the golden child, feels distant, like a storm that passed and left the air clean. I have built something stronger, a life guided by choice, resilience, and love. A small knock at the door draws my attention. Madison stands there, hesitant, a bouquet of flowers in her hand. I just wanted to say congratulations, she says softly. No demands, no accusations, just a gesture, however awkward, acknowledging the space I have created. I smile gently. Thank you, Madison. That means a lot, I reply, closing the door with a calm certainty. Reconciliation is optional, peace is mandatory. I watch Jamie tie his shoes, then shoulder his backpack. Ready, Aunt Rachel? He asks. His words, simple yet profound, remind me that love is measured not by wealth or favoritism, but by presence, guidance, and care. Ready, buddy. Let's go, I say, and we step outside into the warm morning sun. The world stretched wide before us, full of possibility. Later, I sit on the porch with a cup of tea, reflecting on the journey. The lessons are clear now. Boundaries protect, love sustains, and personal strength is the most valuable inheritance of all. I think of the neighbors who offered quiet support, the friends who nurtured genuine connection, and the small, deliberate choices I made every day to reclaim control over my life. Each moment, each act, has built this foundation, a home that is more than a structure. It is a sanctuary of freedom. The mailbox holds a single card today from Mrs. Patterson with a simple note. For you, Rachel, for all you've done and all you will do. I tuck it into my journal, a reminder that the people who truly matter show up, not because they must, but because they care. Real family, real support, those are the gifts that endure. As the afternoon sun softens, I hear Jamie laughing inside while playing with friends, the sound carrying through the open windows. I breathe deeply, feeling the weight of the past lift fully. The house is no longer a place of tension, no longer a battleground of expectations. It is home in every sense, safe, full of laughter, anchored in love, and guided by my choices. I close my eyes for a moment, savoring the peace, the freedom, and the quiet joy. Life continues, unpredictable and bright, but I am ready, steady, and whole. And when I open my eyes, the world outside feels inviting, expansive, and ours to navigate together. Home. Narrator name at the end: Rachel Donovan. Bottom of form.